Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Charles Alder, and thank you for joining me today on this presentation of what I think is a real game changer in terms of the fundraising space for every non-for-profit community-based organisation in Australia. Just a little bit of background on myself, if you don't know who I am and you've come across a Fundraising Doctor email. As I said, my name's Charles Alder. My wife and I, Tracy, founded the charity Rural Aid in 2013, which went on to become the largest drought, fire and flood assistance charity in Australia. We finished up with the charity in 2020, and apart from a number of other ventures, I have a consultancy called the Fundraising Doctor, where I have a real passion in helping not-for-profit organisations raise money, become more professional in their operations, and hopefully achieve greater outcomes for other people. So about 3 years ago, I was approached by a gentleman at a fundraising event up on the Sunshine Coast, and David and I got to talking, and he said, listen, I've got an idea. I can't tell you much about it now, but when it comes time, I want to share it with you because I think it's something you could do some great stuff with. So about a month ago, David and I got together, had coffee, and knowing what I do about the fundraising space, within just a few moments of David presenting me with this idea, I could see the opportunity for not-for-profits. So as you can see on my screen, we're talking today about an app called Rounda. So the concept of rounding up really isn't new, and it's been done in a number of different facets with different companies in Australia over the years. But really, it's the concept of rounding up a transaction to the next full dollar. And in the case of these sorts of organisations, Coles, Woolworths, and Domino's, they do a lot of this rounding up as different parts of promotions. They all have a Domino's Foundation, for example. You can top up when you buy a pizza and it goes to one of Domino's preferred charities. You can round up at particular times with Oz Harvest and other via Woolworths, Drought Angels through Coles, etc., etc. But to actually get yourselves on these platforms, you've got to be a certain size organisation. You've got to have a certain profile. You've got to have a large enough database that these companies can also get some quid pro quo marketing and boost to their value by supporting your charity. So getting on these cash registers can be quite difficult, but the great thing about Rounda is that now every single EFTPOS terminal in Australia is open to your organisation to raise money. So I'm going to share a short video with you. Hopefully you should be able to hear it. I've set it so that you can. It goes for about 90 seconds or so, and then I'll be back to present some more after that. So at Rounda, we offer two types of rounding up options. The first is a split roundup, and the second is a no split. So fairly simple and explanatory. The first split is where I may wish to support my children's education. I may want to put some money aside for a family holiday. And so I can have 50% of my roundup go to my own personal bank account, and I can contribute the other 50% to my charity of choice. The other option is that I could have no splits and I contribute 100% of the money that I'm giving to my charity of choice. Yep. So one of the great things about Rounda is that we only operate on debit cards, and there is a number of reasons for this. Firstly, with debit cards, it means that the person who's actually rounding up actually has the money in their own account. It's not actually on a credit card. Transaction fees on debit cards are cheaper than they are on credit cards. And by not having it on a credit card, we're not adding to a person's personal debt. So it's a great ethical point in terms of rounding up and supporting charities. So this is an example of what the Rounda app looks like. So on the left-hand side here, you can see the Tweed Coolangatta Junior AFC Club, and they've earned $66.76 through rounding up. On the right-hand side, you can see the 3 transactions. So we've got 16 cents at the service station, 10 cents at Bunnings, and another 75 cents at our favourite restaurant. All those little bits add up, and that's what's really important. So we took the product to market in December of last year, and we took it out of beta in May of this year. And over that period of time, the people who were using the platform to test and trial it for us were contributing on average about $300 a year to their preferred charity or organisation of choice. Now, for many of you in the fundraising space, $300 per supporter is a fantastic return on donor support of your organisation. $300 is an amazing number. Really, really super good. So in the case of a split, we're contributing $150 to my child's personal bank account, and the other side, I'm contributing $150 to my charity of choice. So what does this mean for the charity of choice? Well, I've got 200 supporters who are now contributing $150 per annum. Of that, there's about a $30,000 per year fee or income to the charity. Now, there are some fees attached to that, but that's a $30,000 sum that is coming towards the charity without them having to do a great deal of work to raise it. Now, if we go in the no split route, this is even more life-changing for not-for-profit organisations, because now we've got 300 times 200 people, and we've now got an income of $60,000 a year to the charity. Now, again, there are some costs for the Rounda platform, but this is fantastic new residual passive income that our organisations are now able to earn through the rounding up process. But one of the things that really appealed to me was the ability for consumers, those contributing to support their charity of choice, to have some controls in terms of how much they gave to their charities. So firstly, I can top up my transactions to the next full dollar. So if I'm spending $29.50, I can top it up to $30. Or I can top it up to $31 if I'm deciding to offer to top up to the next $2 amount, or $34 if I'm topping up to the next $5 amount. But importantly, if I use my debit card 20 or 30 times a week, which some people do, I could be contributing more money to my organisation than I can actually financially afford. So what's been introduced is a limit to my weekly giving of $7.50, $10, $12.50, or I can continue to leave my contributions unlimited. Now, this is really important because it means that our supporters are more likely to continue to support our organisations if they're able to budget for it effectively. Now, just think about this. If $300 was a great figure through our beta trial, could you imagine if a majority of your supporters decided that they wanted to contribute up to $10 a week? Well, that's over $500 a year that you could be earning from your supporters simply by them topping up and fixing it at that $10 a week amount. One of the other great things about the opportunity is that you can actually pause your fundraising giving as a consumer to your charity of choice, and you can reactivate it at will. So it's a really simple process. You log into the Rounda app, you swipe left. Okay, I've now paused my fundraising. Now, as a company, we'll go back to those people who've paused, and we might suggest to them, hey, listen, thanks, David, for supporting Save the Whales. We noticed that you were contributing $12.50 a week. Would you like to start again and maybe take that down to the $10 amount? Is that a bit more manageable for you? So we'll work proactively with you to get as many of the people who are using the Rounda platform to continue on supporting your organisation, because ongoing residual revenue is really, really important. One of the other aspects that's really important, and we're very much aware of this in Australia in the last few years, has been the level of security in terms of bank access and data theft and those sorts of things. Well, one of the great things about the Rounda platform is that we're not the only company that's utilising this technology. There are a number of others who are using core features of our program and our platform to run other operations, which have been successfully running for a number of years, and a number of large ASX-listed entities in Australia. So the technology we use is very robust, it's very solid, and the security level on it is absolutely first class. We actually don't charge organisations anything to come on board with Rounda. It's a very simple process, which I'll give you a link to shortly. So it doesn't cost organisations anything, and it doesn't cost consumers anything upfront to be part of the platform. When a consumer registers, they'll actually register through the Rounda link that we give each of these charities to share with their supporters. And when the user registers to support their preferred organisation, the banks actually will communicate directly with them. There's no stage where you enter your BSB or your account number as an individual supporter into the Rounda platform. It's all done from the banks initiating connection with us in the background. So there's a really great secure system there. And finally, at the end of the financial year, if your organisation has DGR status, then with or without DGR status, mind you, we can actually issue receipts on your behalf to your supporters for you. Or we could supply you with an Excel spreadsheet and you could make that the process of distributing those receipts yourself, if that's the process that you go through. But that basically finishes our presentation today. It's a very simple platform for your organisation to make residual, ongoing, passive income to support your organisation. So where do you go to from here? Well, as I said, it's a very simple process. You can share this. In fact, you can copy this link if you like, or I'll share it with you anyway after this presentation. But if you go to fundraisingdoctor.org/Rounda, you'll actually find the fields there that we require to get your organisation set up on the Rounda platform. Now, it takes around about 48 hours to actually get you activated on the platform. And at that time, we'll share with you a dedicated URL, which you can then share with your supporters. We can also produce that for you in a QR code form, so you can start to use that in socials. And we'll give you a range of ideas as to how to market out to your supporter base. You share those links with your supporters, they go online, they register, they choose your organisation, and you're up and running. And importantly for you, we'll deposit the funds into your account on the 6th of the following month in which they've been collected. So as I said to you before, it's a very simple process. And I can attest to the fact that this sort of concept of little bits of money equals a big amount, and the basis that when we were running the Buy a Bale program for farmers in drought, we asked Australians to give us $20 to buy a bale. And we raised over $90 million of the $100 million in $20 amounts from Australians. So you can imagine the simplicity here when we've got people who are contributing 10 cents, 15 cents, 75 cents on a transaction. It'll quite easily get to that $10 a week cap if that's what they've set. And those funds then come to you minus the cost of the Rounda platform. So we'll actually finish the presentation there in terms of the recording. Thank you for your time. And if you just want to hold on, I'll answer some questions after the recording finishes.